Hello, I am Nicole Cedino. I will be your teacher. In this module, I want to help you understand how the respiratory system functions and how through your breath you will be able to align your mind, your body, and connect with your soul. So let's start with the respiratory system. Every time you breathe in, you suck air into your lungs. So the air goes inside your nose, and there is hair in your nose to keep out dust particles, big dust particles. Then it goes into your nasal cavity. The nasal cavity, the sides, they're lined with like sticky liquid that traps dirt and the germs. Then it goes into your throat. There is a flap that is called the epiglottis, so that when you swallow, it closes. This will stop from getting food into your air tubes. And then when you breathe in air, the air fills your lungs. They blow up. The lungs blow up like a big two balloons. And then this is your diaphragm at the bottom of the lungs. It is the big sheet of muscles that helps you breathe. Let's take a closer look to all of this. As mentioned before, our respiratory system is a series of organs responsible for taking in oxygen and expelling carbon dioxide. The primary organ of these amazing systems are the lungs, which they actually carry out this exchange of gases. When it comes to the lungs, they are a balloon-like structure in the chest that brings oxygen into the body and expel carbon dioxide from the body. There are two lungs in the human body, and they are the main organs of the respiratory system, as mentioned before. In the lungs, oxygen is taken into the body and carbon dioxide is breathed out. The red blood cells are responsible for picking up the oxygen in the lungs and carry it to the body cells that need it. The red blood cells drop off oxygen to the body cells, then pick up carbon dioxide, which is a waste gas product produced by those cells, and then the red blood cells transport the carbon dioxide back to the lungs and we breathe it out every time we exhale. The human body needs oxygen to sustain. After only about 5 minutes without oxygen, brain cells begin to die, which can lead to brain damage and ultimately to death. Let's take a closer look on how we breathe. Under your lungs, you have a big muscle called the diaphragm, which we will look at a little bit more closer in the next slide. You also have muscles between your ribs. You will use all of these muscles to breathe in and to breathe out. When you inhale, the breath enters your nose, throat, and then your lungs. Your lungs and ribcage expand three-dimensionally in all directions, and then your diaphragm completely relaxes to ascend. Your lungs and ribcage compresses, and the air releases out of your throat and then the nose. So the diaphragm. Breathing starts with a dome-shaped muscle at the bottom of the lungs called the diaphragm. It is the main muscle used in breathing, and when we breathe in, the diaphragm contracts, flattens out, and pulls downwards. This movement enlarges the space that the lungs are in. This larger space pulls air into the lungs. When we breathe out, the diaphragm expands, reducing the amount of space for the lungs and forcing the air out. As you can see in the picture, whenever you breathe in, the chest expands, the ribs, the diaphragm contracts. Whenever you breathe out, the chest contracts, the lungs, and the diaphragm completely relaxes. Yoga and breathing. Life is the period between one breath and the next. A person who only half breathes only half lives. He who breathes correctly acquires control of the whole being. Breathing is an spontaneous function of the body, so how is it possible to do it incorrectly? The answer is that our respiratory muscles become lazy and cease to give optimum inhalation and exhalation. We can survive for a few days without drinking any water, a few months without taking food, but how long can the average person survive without drawing air into the lungs? It is written in the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, the ancient text of yoga. The ancient yogis were fully aware of the importance of breath. No breath, no life. Breath is life. In yoga, it is said that each person has a fixed number of breaths allocated to him. If one breathes slowly, then one will live longer, for the number of breaths is allocated for the lifetime. If one breathes rapidly, the given number of breaths are used up more quickly, resulting in a shorter lifespan. Breath work practices. Modern yogis use breath work for health benefits, including overcoming inefficient breathing patterns from a culture of poor posture and stress. Through alterning your breath, you change your state of mind. For example, you may practice left nostril breathing and B breathing to calm down, or you could do right nostril breathing in Kapalabhati for alertness. Breathing pranayama. Pranayama is the yogic based science of breath control, utilizing different but generally rhythmical techniques. Prana is the source of life, energy, vitality, and strength. It is said that without prana, energy, there is no life. Prana means energy. Ayama means length, expansion, stretching, or restraint. Prana and ayama combined commonly translate to energetic breathing. Inhalation means puraka. Rechaka means exhalation. Yogic exhalation draws movement inwards and downwards to the Mula Bandha. It creates a connecting feeling through the body and to the earth. It comes with a relaxation response, calming the mind, the switch to the parasympathetic nervous system, and the release of behavioral stress. Yogis use pranayama or breath control to control their prana and to anchor to the present moment. Interestingly, prana simultaneously means breath. Yogis believe that you can change the flow and qualities of your energetics by breath control. So let's talk about the roots of yoga and how does it adapt to the 21st century. Usually, a fast breathing rate is associated with tension, fear, worry, which tends to lead to bad health and happiness, and of course, a shorter life. So, a person who breathes slowly is relaxed, calm, and happy, which is conducive to longevity. A person who breathes quickly tends to inhale small volumes of air and exhale the same small volumes. This tends to allow germs to accumulate in the lower areas of the lungs. A person who breathes slowly tends to also breathe deeply and thereby fill the lungs to a greater depth. This helps to remove stagnant air from the lower reaches of the lungs and to destroy the breeding ground of germs and the germs themselves. So, the modern way of life has put us out of touch with a natural life rhythm. Think of how many diseases are caused or at least aggravated by faulty breathing. This includes asthma, bronchitis, pulmonary tuberculosis, and large numbers of other ailments indirectly caused by starving our body of the oxygen nourishment that it needs as a result of shallow breathing. For example, deep breathing imparts a good massage to the abdominal organs via the diaphragm. This is a natural and essential subsidiary function of the breathing process, which is often overlooked. Shallow breathing connected with fast breathing does not give the internal organs the massage they require, leading to various diseases. It in itself does not cause them, but tends to encourage the onset in conjunction with other body factors. Let's take a closer look at the four aspects of pranayama. In pranayama practice, there are these four important aspects of breathing, which are very much utilized. These are udaka or inhalation, rechaka or exhalation, antarkumbhaka or internal breath retention, bahir kumbhaka or external breath retention. The different practices of pranayama involve various techniques which utilize these four aspects of breathing. There is another mode of pranayama which is called kevala kumbhaka or spontaneous breath retention. This is an advanced stage of pranayama which occurs during high states of meditation in which the fluctuation of prana ceases. Pranic body. Annamaya kosha, the food or material body. Manomaya kosha, the mental body. Pranayama kosha, the bioplasmic or vital energy. Vijnana kosha, the psychic or higher mental body. And the Anandamaya kosha, the transcendental or bliss body. First, let me explain to you what koshas are. The koshas are layers or sheaths that move from the outermost layer of shin to the deep spiritual core. The koshas provide a framework for conceptualizing ourselves. You can use koshas as points of reference for self-awareness exploration, always starting from the outermost, then traveling inwards. They were first referenced in the Upanishads, which are part of the Vedic literature. There are 5 koshas or layers that surround your true self. Like an onion with many layers or like a Russian doll, think of koshas as a roadmap to take with you on your inner journey. Practicing yoga regularly invokes the right understanding and awareness and clears the mind of delusional thought process. Many refers to this as the awakening of conscious. The koshas can be seen as simple reference point for your experiences and understanding on your journey inward to the true self. Now, let me explain to you them in a closer look. Annamaya kosha, this is the outermost layer of the layer that is the food. It consists of everything that we eat, food, liquids, drugs. It is your physical body. Basically, it's the classic one. You are what you eat. This kosha is composed of all physical structure, which is made of the 5 elements. Manomaya kosha is the mental body. This is the next layer, and it's the mental layer. Manas is the sensory mind. The sensorial mental layer can be very contaminated by having a very reactive mind, always in search of pleasures and with too many aversions towards the unpleasant. The key to mastering manas is equanimity, non-reactivity. Of course, if you do not eat well and if you do not breathe properly, you will not think well either. Pranamaya kosha. This is the next layer. It's composed of prana, extracted from food, air, and the environment. If you breathe pure air and live in nature, your pranayama kosha will be much healthier than if you live in the middle of a city whose air is contaminated by automobile industries and gases. Vijnamaya kosha, this is the wisdom body. This is the layer of intelligence or wisdom. Precisely, we can access this mental layer by overcoming the obstacles of the previous ones. This is a result of becoming aware of your subconscious. Anandamaya kosha. Finally, we have this last innermost layer, the Anandamaya kosha. We talk about spiritual enjoyment. Ananda is the highest happiness, is what is experienced in samadhi. Anandamaya kosha is the causal body associated with the spiritual soul. Pranic body. Prana in this context does not refer to cosmic prana, but rather to just one flow of energy. This basically governs the thoracic area between the larynx and the top of the diaphragm. It is associated with the heart and organs of respiration together with the muscles and nerves that activate them. It is the force by which the breath is drawn inside. Apana governs the abdomen below the navel region and provides energy for the large intestine, kidneys, anus, and the genitals. Apana it is concerned with the expulsion of waste from the body, and it is the force which expels the breath. Samana it is located between the head and the navel. It activates and controls the digestive system, the liver, the intestines, the pancreas, and stomach, as well as their secretions. This is responsible for transformation. On a physical level, this relates to the assimilation and distribution of nutrients. And last two, it would be Udana. It governs the neck and head, activating all the sensory receptors such as the eyes, tongue, nose, and ears. The Udana also harmonizes and activates the limbs and all of their associated muscles, ligaments, nerves, and joints. Dhyana pervades the whole body, regulating and controlling all movement and coordinating the other pranas. It acts as the reserve force for the other pranas. In this module, I was able to explain the different types of koshas. I was also able to explain how the respiration or how breathing works. In our next module, I will be able to explain the different types of pranas, also the different types of meditations, as well as how it affects in your different types of breathing, clavicular breathing, abdominal breathing. I hope to see you in the next module, and thank you very much for your time.